Welcome back to Crawford-Clark Close-Up and the penultimate video in our second Halloween horror season. In this video we'll be ranking all 8 films in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a series which is celebrating its 45th anniversary this year and which launched horror icon Leatherface onto audiences. These films fall from entertaining to downright dull, but we still might have some surprise choices in here for fans of this franchise. Before we start, as always, this is a subjective list. These are our opinions on this franchise, and if you think differently, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Come and find Crawford-Clark Close-Up on Facebook and Twitter. You can also drop us an email with suggestions for future reviews on the channel to crawfordclarkcloseup@gmail.com. Most importantly, if you enjoyed this review and are looking for more regular reviews of old and new releases, please subscribe to the channel at the top of the page. The chainsaw is oiled up and ready to go, so let's get started at the bottom of our list. For a while, 2013's Texas Chainsaw 3D, yes, it was really called that, was firmly at the bottom of the Massacre franchise, as the film is ludicrous. But on our watch of 2017's Leatherface, it's now been usurped. It's arguable whether Leatherface is actually worse than Texas Chainsaw, but at least Texas Chainsaw is fairly entertaining in its stupidity. Leatherface commits the cardinal sin of not only being another pointless origin story for the central character, but an extremely dull film where nothing of interest happens. It's one of the shortest films in the series, thankfully, and also one of the most poorly lit of them all. Almost every scene is shot at night, and at times it's impossible to see who's doing what. Maybe that's a good thing. Leatherface is at number 8. So, number 7 is, of course, Texas Chainsaw. With more inconsistencies and factual errors in the narrative than you'd ever think possible, Chainsaw was a gimmick rehash of the character, supposedly ignoring all of the sequels after the 1974 original, yet showing us a recap of events from the original film over the opening credits here, which cheapens the film, making it feel like it's made for TV. Alexandra Daddario's Heather gains inheritance from her gran of a house in Texas, which seems like a good result, until she uncovers Leatherface in the basement. The end result is as ridiculous as it sounds, and having Trey Songz in your film doesn't improve matters either. At number 6, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 from 1986. The first and obviously unnecessary sequel to the original sees a radio host victimised by the family of cannibals. Dennis Hopper is the big star name in this, as a full of himself lieutenant. The fact that this mess comes from the original's director Tobe Hooper is a real surprise. Starting the top 5, we have the third film in the franchise, Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. This third outing is more stripped back and straightforward, yet only marginally scary. Kudos to Viggo Mortensen, playing one of the more intriguing characters in the Massacre franchise as the unhinged Tex. It's sadistic and a definite improvement over the second film. At number 4, it's the best of the original sequels before the series got its reboot, Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Whilst far from being great, features some solid performances, including a young Renee Zellweger showing promise as heroine Jenny. Matthew McConaughey is the star draw here, however, as the disgusting Vilmer. It's the creepiest of the films since the original at this point, and wasn't a bad way to celebrate the franchise's 20th anniversary. Coming in third place is the 2003 reboot of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's all about Jessica Biel's boobs and overemphasising both the violence and trying to give backstory to Leatherface, a trap that the Halloween series fell into with the Rob Zombie reboot, attempting to give reason to evil. But this works fairly well, with some solid changes to the original, some for the better, and the best thrills since the 1974 movie that started the franchise off. Sitting comfortably in second place is the only other film worth watching besides the original, 2006's Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. Despite the subtitle The Beginning, there's a little messing around with origin stories this time around, and this is certainly the most brutal of all 8 films in the franchise. The clear standout is R. Lee Ermey's Uncle Hewitt, also playing the corrupt sheriff of the town, a character so sadistic and dislikable that he gives Leatherface himself a run for his money. This is gory, brainless entertainment and nearly came out on top, but you can't really have a Chainsaw Massacre ranking and not have the original in first place. So, number 1 is 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the movie that spawned 7 sequels, the grainy, relentless start to a horror icon. The late Gunnar Hansen will always be Leatherface, and rightly kept deriding the many sequels for not respecting the fact that this original film was not gory in the slightest. It's all in the mind. You never see the meat hook piercing Pam's skin when Leatherface hangs her up in his pantry, nor do you see the mutilated body of Franklin when Leatherface springs upon he and Sally in the dark. It's this subdued direction from Tobe Hooper and the low-angle wide shots on characters looking in horror and disbelief at what they're witnessing that generates the real palpable terror here, and why the Texas Chainsaw Massacre still frightens the hardest of horror fans to this day. So there's our 2 cents on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film series. How would you rank these movies if you've seen all 8? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more regular content if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to join us for our final video in this year's Halloween horror season as 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. We go back 35 years to the beginning of the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise for another ranking video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, that's a wrap.